Hello, I am here to introduce Katie Cruz. She was born in California into a military family and then became a Navy spouse. She earned her associate's in elementary education with Northwest Florida State College in 2014, and she recently completed her Bachelor's of Arts in Sociology with St. Leo University in December of 2020, and this is the result of her senior thesis. Take it away, Katie.
Hello. My senior thesis was on the public's opinion on the rehabilitation services in the prison system today. Why I chose this subject, it was actually kind of funny because I have this kind of odd obsession with true crime shows and reality shows about life in prison and life outside of prison and trying to adapt to getting back to used to being in society. And as I was watching those shows, I saw more and more that a lot of the participants ended up going back to jail. And so that made me think of why. Why did they go back to jail? Is there something within the prison system that is failing these people and they're ended up back in jail and just repeating the cycle? So it made me think, um, like, what is going on? Are there problems that could be fixed? Are there programs that can be used to help these people get back into society? So my theories here was kind of my subjects I followed was life in prison, how the day-to-day life of an inmate could affect their rehabilitation because there's a lot of aspects that can hinder or help them, such as drugs, other inmates, stuff like that. Um, what the prisons have to offer the inmates, so programs, education programs, mental health help, and then life after prison, and how the inmates re-enter society and help reduce the recidivism rates. My methodology, I started with 10, 10 people. I did 10 interviews. I used the convenience sampling. So people I knew, I chose a wide variety of people. I wanted opinions from young people who may not really think about what's going on in our prison systems, to older people who may know people who have been in prison, have more life experience. And then I try to choose people with a lot of different backgrounds. So I had someone who was a stay-at-home mom, someone who was a former police officer who did many years as a police officer, first responders, civil service member, and just one person, the 20-year-old was fresh out of high school, getting ready to join the military. So a lot of different backgrounds. And so I would get different opinions. And then some of my participants had personal experience with people, family members, or loved ones who have been in the prison system or who have kind of gone back and forth with the prison system as well. So, and then people who had no connection at all with the subject. I wanted to get a variety of opinions, so those who have a connection with it would give a different insight to the ones who did not. um, then when I started my interviews, I gave it a informed consent form for them to sign, and I ensured them that absolutely no personal information was going to be used. Their name would not be used. Pseudonyms would be used in place. And then I did semi-structured interviews where I had my list of questions that I got approved in my RB application but then used probing questions when I felt it would be necessary during the interview. And then I recorded every interview on my phone and then transcribed them myself and immediately deleted it. And then I used a lot of different, several different coding strategies, open coding to go through it initially and just pick the obvious answers there. And then the more in depth axial coding and then the deductive directive coding to find my themes. And then that would be analyzing all my codes and distinguishing my major themes. Next, please. So my findings, um, most of my participants felt that keeping violent prisoners separate from the general population would be beneficial because and those violent inmates who just don't care if they get another year or two tacked on to their sentence are not going to help them in the process and can hinder them from rehabilitating and being able to get back to regular everyday life. Another major thing was gang activity. It's a major concern, and it's obviously present in our prison systems today. And the only thing and the only concern a lot of my participants had is yes, they thought it was a good idea to try to monitor and try to attempt to break up the known gang members and keep them separate from each other, but it would be really hard to do. Um, some may say impossible to completely separate gang activity in the prison. So that was that was the only major concern from my participants. Um, um, Mental health is another big issue that we see in prisons, and it was probably one of the biggest concerns of my participants. It was absolutely unanimous that my participants thought there should be some kind of help for mentally ill inmates, and support groups was one of the major things. I believe that was unanimous that that would be a good idea to have in our prison systems, um, because it provides an outlet for them to get their feelings out, kind of express themselves so they're not holding everything in, and then they can relate to other inmates that are going through the same thing and don't know how to deal with it. And then another uh, something I brought up was having a doctor on call. Do we have a doctor on call for those mentally ill patients? Because you never know when a mentally ill patient is going or inmate is going to have a breakdown, mental breakdown, acting out, whatever the case may be. But and that was a toss up because although um, most of them believed it was a good idea, it they were concerned that it could be taken advantage of. So if you have a doctor on call 24/7, you could have an inmate that's like, "Oh, I need somebody," and it's not an emergency where, there are obviously going to be cases that it is. So that was the concern of that that issue. Um Another major theme was education within the prison. It was unanimous that education should be available, but it was kind of a toss up of what level they should be able to reach. So, were okay with them going all the way to a doctorate if they so chose. And then another option that one of my participants brought up was like trade programs, which I thought was a great idea to give them a set of skills that they could use immediately out of, and is trying to find work and trying to find someone that will hire them. And having those set of skills will really help them. And then another major theme was the transition from prison life to back into society. Because the a big thing that I saw was the recidivism rates, which I didn't even know what that was before I started this research, which that is the rate of people who return to prison after being released. And like my true crime and reality shows, I saw that a lot of them that did go back went back fairly quickly, months to, I would probably say within a year of being released, a lot of them went back. So a lot of my participants um, expressed that a transition services would be a good idea and should be provided to some extent, just to help them find, get a grasp of the different elements of being in society, because it's not just one thing. It's finding finding a place to live, finding a job, writing a resume, being prepared for interviews, stuff like that. It all encompasses in that um transition back to society. So I do, that was a major theme as well. Future research, I thought that a good place to start would be talking to inmates. What do they think? Do they think that there's something that could be done? Or, where do they see the flaws? And also prison staff, they see the inmates directly every single day. They see how different aspects of prison life affect them, and they see inmates from the day they get in to the day they get out, so they can see the effect that prison life has on them, and see the different things that are affecting them that maybe can hinder them from getting out and staying out. Lessons learned, um, maybe not chosen completely different questions, but maybe go in depth more with my questions, because I chose a lot of yes no questions. Um, and although that helped me with the initial coding, because I could pick them out, and that was easy for me, and doing my analysis and doing my findings, that helped me. But I, knowing now, like, I those probing questions were questions for that. Um, so that's the only major thing I felt was lacking from my process of doing this. That's about it.